My name is Charlie Veitch. I'm a full-time activist, and I'm here to tell you my story. I'm a mixed race. I'm half Brazilian, half Scottish, and I was born in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil 30 years ago. I grew up in a very interesting international lifestyle because my father worked in the oil industry as a harbor pilot for big oil tankers. So we used to live in Arabic countries, African countries, and the Caribbean. When I was 13, I got sent to boarding school in Scotland, in Edinburgh. And I went to Edinburgh University after that, studying philosophy, because I guess, like many people who are young, I wanted to find out the secrets of what knowledge is, what it means to be a human being. And strangely enough, when I was 18, I promised myself I would never wear a suit or ever work in an office. And then my first job at the age of 22 was wearing a suit in an office. And I was like, my God, what have I done here? So I worked in finance because I come from a middle-class family. My mother was a lawyer. My father worked in the oil industry, so they wanted me to get a good job. Cool, man. So I didn't enjoy it. I used to sell investments to people, and I used to make some good bonuses from it. But around 2008, the economy started crashing around the world, and I lost my job in finance, and it allowed me to really question who runs the world, where does money come from, what is politics, what is geostrategy in terms of politics, and are our governments, are they moral or immoral when they're killing lots of people around the world?
Outside the uniform, you guys are human beings as well. It's just that inside the uniform, you uphold the criminal government. So
I started a group called the Love Police, whose job is to lower fear and raise love, using the megaphone, using anarchism, using absurdity. And I have a style which I call sub-ironic absurdity, which uses very subtle irony to try and get a point across, and very often will say the opposite of what we actually mean to create a kind of cognitive dissonance in people's brains. I've been doing this for about 2 years now.
Anyway, the government's going to cut all the services, it's going to put everyone into austerity, everyone's losing their jobs, but we can afford to spend £8 million a day bombing Libyans.
A lot of my work as an activist in London and Cambridge involves hugging the British police, which we find is the best way to find the human being inside them. A lot of the time the police in Britain are programmed, they go through management training and so forth, and because they deal with a very difficult public, with violence and rapes and murders and robberies, they start to think that we're all scumbags, and so by hugging the police we remind them that we're all human beings, whether you're in uniform or not. And this is why we find that the best activism in the Western world right now, we don't need to use Molotov cocktails, we don't need to use guns, because we have, luckily, rather good laws. And so the best way to actually change a country is to change people's hearts and minds. And I find the way to do that is to use very gentle comedy, unifying kind of fun in a way as an activist, because you turn on the news every day, and you turn on the BBC or CNN or Fox News and it's war, 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 death, 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 politicians lying, countries getting invaded. So no one really on the streets wants to hear an aggressive message like, don't do this, don't do that. What I think people want is to be challenged. They want to be inspired. They want to hear someone who actually cuts through the lies and tells reality as it actually is with a light-hearted, good spirit. Today we're going to Market Square in central Cambridge to meet up with a few friends of the Love Police, which is my activist group, and also a bunch of people who call themselves United Against Fascism. The reason why we're all meeting today is because a group called the EDL, the English Defence League, are going to be marching through Cambridge, much like they've marched through other towns in England. They seem to be a very confused group of skinheads and neo-Nazis and racist thugs, yet they have Asian and black members amongst the racist thugs. And they like to chant EDL, 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 and their political agenda seems to be that they want to remove Islam from Great Britain. They seem to be very anti-radical Islam. They are against Sharia law, they are against the women wearing the burqa, the veil, but it comes across as a violent, nasty organization, and they are very anti-Islam. So we're going to go there with a megaphone, maybe say a bit of comedy, maybe make fun of them a bit, and maybe even try and hug a few of them, because what we want to do is lower fear and raise love. But I'm interested to see the police operation today. I mean, we've seen the helicopters in Cambridge. We don't see that very often. That's more of a London thing. So this could be, unfortunately, quite an exciting day for Cambridge. Do you know what time the EDL are scheduled to pass through?
The EDL marches, I'm not sure what it is, it's
near
elsewhere.
the backs, wherever that is.
Oh, so they're not coming through the centre?
The counter demonstration's passing here in about 10 minutes.
Oh, okay, cool.
That's the TUC and United Against Fascism. About 10-15.
They sound like a scary bunch. Thanks, Okay, we've just arrived in Market Square now. There's a heavy police presence all over Cambridge, and we're just walking towards the Guildhall, which is the council building here in Cambridge, to meet up with the United Against Fascism crowd who are doing the counter demonstration. So I'm interested to see what kind of people have turned up, what they plan on doing, whether they actually plan on confronting the EDL or not. We'll see.
Cambridge United will never be defeated. Cambridge United will never
How you
be
doing, man?
defeated.
I can dress for the occasions. Take a piss.
Never be defeated.
Cambridge United.
Come on, camera, you can do it. Okay, here we go. Okay, Alpha Bravo 764, make sure we get all these people straight to Guantanamo on the next rendition flight. Straight to Guantanamo. Tristan, it seems like we've got our own police escort. If we turn the camera the right way, where is she? There's our police escort. Hey man, how's it going? So we've got our own surveillance team. If the camera could see that lady just behind me. Okay, here we are. We're going to interview this lovely police lady. Deborah, just wondering, why did you point at me when you were speaking to that film crew? Because, you know, I feel that I might be under surveillance by the police, and I feel threatened.
Not at all, sir.
No, but why did you point at me when the film crew were chatting to you? Is there a particular reason why you singled me out in the crowd?
No particular reason at all.
So why did you point at me?
Because I'm in charge, I've got to look after media today, and I wondered why these gentlemen with the camera from here, that was all.
Oh, sorry, if you're here to look after media, I am mistaken. And
That's
you see, you know, it's a paranoid age. Everyone's
a little bit paranoid.
But anyway, nice to meet you. My name's
Have a good
Charlie.
day.
You too, man. Sorry about that.
I just wondered what all the cameras were about.
Yeah, we're making an undercover documentary. It's all deep undercover. We don't know who we're working for.
Absolutely.
See it. You too. Around the time of the royal wedding, I knew it was going to be a very big affair, and this followed on from the student riots, which were very big and very powerful in Britain, which really captured the nation's imagination. And at a time when the country's in a recession, when people are losing their jobs, when students are going to have to pay £9,000 a year, I felt, and so did hundreds of thousands of people, maybe millions in this country, felt that to have a royal wedding costing £50 million when the country's really poor, to impose this social hierarchy of people who are born blue-blooded and better than you, was an outrage, a political outrage, a philosophical outrage, and also a moral outrage. That in 2011, we have people born in a monarchy. So on the 14th of April, 2 weeks before the wedding, I went to the Metropolitan Police and I went into the Scotland Yard headquarters, and they all knew who I was, Mr. Veitch. And I said, look, I just want to be peaceful. I'm not going to hurt anyone, attack anything. We're just going to do some funny, comedic megaphoning in Soho Square, a few hundred meters away from the procession. And we shook hands and they said, yeah, cool, thanks for letting us know, no problem. And so I went on YouTube and I started saying, look, let's meet here, let's make fun of the royalists, let's make fun of the royal family, let's make fun of the wedding. And then 24 hours before the royal wedding, I was thrown in jail. 2 policemen came to my house, which they'd never done before. I felt so violated that the place where you eat and sleep, the police turn up.
Okay, Mr. Veitch, I'm arresting you as there are reasonable grounds to suspect that you've conspired with others to cause public nuisance in relation to the royal wedding.
Oh, this is
on
just
the
the
29th
anarchists
of
that are...
April 2011.
Yeah.
You're also under arrest on suspicion of aggravated trespass at Fortman and Mason in Piccadilly, London, which occurred on Saturday the 26th of March 2011, where you've been identified by witnesses as being present.
To take me away as a political dissident. And I make fun of China, I make fun of North Korea, because in China, if you speak out against the government, you go to jail. And I did the same, and I went to jail for 24 hours for talking, for freedom of speech. And it exposed just how sensitive Britain is about the royal family. They arrested 150 people preemptively for pre-crime, not for a crime you've done, but for something you might do in the future, and they threw us in jail.
They have nothing on me. I've done nothing wrong. This is a political arrest.
No, I know, but I'm so shocked.
Oh, can I leave you with my house keys? Is that probably the best thing to do?
I don't know.
Yes, it's probably the best thing to do, isn't it?
Search anywhere else. Under Section 32 of PACE, which is basically it's a power that enables us to search the place that you've been arrested from for any items that are related to the allegations of the offences that you've been arrested for. Were you present?
Yeah.
And it really made me see how Britain is a very free country, but for certain things, they're crazy. And the royal wedding to me is a sign of the insanity of this country. We shouldn't have a royal wedding. It's time for it to change. It's time for us to evolve as human beings and to stop paying millions of pounds for these people to live in big palaces. It's offensive, it's ridiculous, and it winds up the population massively. The first thing we need to do is very peacefully dismantle the royal family. We need to stop calling things royal, like Royal Bank of Scotland, Royal Mail, the Royal Mint. We need to stop giving Parliament royal assent. We need to get the Queen off the money. Every time I buy something, there's the Queen looking at me. When I open my British passport, it doesn't say I'm a British citizen. It says I'm a British subject, so subject to the Queen. And that has to stop. I'm not a subject. I don't have a queen. I don't have a king. I'm a human being. I'm equal to the Queen.
Ladies and gentlemen, pose for the lovely police photographer. Pose for him. The police databases are good for you. Come on, show your faces. The police database is good for you. It's okay. We'll do a Freedom of Information Act. It's all good, ladies and gentlemen. It's all good.
The problems I talk about are international, be it Brazil or China or Russia or Africa. My activism has taken me to Canada, to America, to Europe, to Holland, to a few places, to France. And I find that the issues people have are the same everywhere because we're all human beings living in some form of government oppression or other. Because as an anarchist, it's not a dangerous word, it's a libertarian. An anarchist is a good anarchist. I think that governments can only rule by force. And it's at a stage now in the Western world where people aren't politically engaged, and they need to be a bit more because we tend to think our governments are doing good things, that we're civilized Western people, but power corrupts everywhere. And unfortunately now the Western world is very powerful, and I see it being increasingly corrupted by a small, very rich group of people that benefit from warfare, that benefit from fear and economic collapses. And so if things become difficult for a majority of the population, maybe it's time for a revolution, maybe it's time for a change in society. So. I was in Canada, in Toronto, last summer in 2010 for the G20, the group of 20 countries to meet. And I was terrified of central Toronto. It looked like a dystopian vision of the future if the whole world had turned into a really nasty police state. There was 10,000 protesters, and activists, and 20,000 police, all of them dressed like Darth Vader, like stormtroopers, with armor and machine guns and tear gas guns, and they all looked like robots. And I saw police really hurting people. They were shooting people with tear gas, which is the first time it's ever been used in Canada. And the Toronto government spent $1 billion, Canadian or American, $1 billion to police this event against people which I saw were very peaceful. And I got arrested twice in 6 days. But the good news is we're now suing the Toronto government and the Toronto police for illegal imprisonment because there was no reason to arrest me. But there's also 900 other people who were arrested for no reason. So I think it's very important to thank the media and the internet to get this information out, because people can analyze these illegal arrests, the police hitting people. And what I think happened in Canada and Toronto was the cult of brutality that the police have, because they are aggressive, angry people. Sometimes they just want to fight. We saw that come out. They were given a carte blanche to say, go out there and protect the G20. Let's suspend law, let's suspend civility. And they really went to town against the protesters and hit people, attacked people, arrested people, 500 at a time for no reason. And we see this a lot when people get given a uniform and a lot of power, and even more power than they're normally allowed. They go crazy. And we can see video of some people saying to the police, you can't search me, this is Canada. And the policeman says, well, for this weekend, it's not Canada anymore. I'm like, what?
Black and white, unite and fight! Stop the EDL! Black and white, unite and fight! Stop the EDL! Black and white, unite and fight! Stop the EDL! Black and white, go to hell!
Well, we've done a couple of laps of central Cambridge and now we're walking towards Midsummer Common. I suspect perhaps the EDL are prey. You know, this is a hunting group and our prey are somewhere over there. So I feel that there might be some confrontation. Let's keep it absurd, keep it lighthearted, keep it surreal.
We'll never be divided. We'll never be divided.
The biggest threats for an activist in this country doesn't come from the government or from the police or from security. It comes from other members of the public. Because the things we talk about are controversial and they raise people's hearts and minds about what is right and what is wrong, it does wind up and make a lot of people very angry. And I've had people punch me and attack me in the street. I get emails of death threats. I have people phone my phone and tell me they're going to put a bullet in the back of my head.
Move yourselves back. Move yourselves back. Just for your safety, so move yourselves back. Let's go. Well, here we are at Queen's University, Cambridge University, Queen's College. And the EDL are throwing glass and oh my God.
Ladies and gentlemen, forgive the EDL. They do not know what they do. They're a bunch of very violent, angry young men and not so young. They keep on reading too many newspapers and they think that Muslims are the enemy. What they need to do is relax a little and realize that we are all one. We are all the same. I'm sure the Americans would feel very proud to see their flag in there as well.
Keep going, mate. I'm not pushing you. I know you are, mate. Keep going.
Let's carry on the march! Carry on with the march!
But don't worry, there'll be some irony tonight. They're going to go home after ranting against brown people and go home to an Indian curry restaurant and eat some curry.
Technology, as we've seen with WikiLeaks, has really changed the relationship between the powerful and the public, or the government and the public. Whereas in the past, the governments could control information, they could harass the media, they could corrupt the media so that they give out one powerful propaganda message. It's impossible now, because we are the media, we the people can control the information. And what I find very interesting in my personal case as an activist is that I can make films for the internet with a budget of zero, with £1,000 worth of equipment, a computer and camera from my bedroom. And I can get more hits than CNN, than Channel 4. I can always be in the top 50 of most popular channels on European YouTube. And this is competing against news organizations that have tens of millions of pounds of budget per year. And people are starting to wake up. They're starting to see through the rubbish and the corporate, mediocre-backed kind of safe media, which the kind of main news organizations are pumping out. They're starting to see that it isn't really news, it's just an agenda. So I think the public are hungry for real filmmakers, for real news, for real media to be out there, which is much more dynamic and much more inspiring, really, in a way, which tells it how it really is without siding with the powerful. And what we saw during the royal wedding was that after my arrest, which made in all the newspapers, all over YouTube, was that my channel was ranked 9th on all of YouTube, and the official royal wedding channel was ranked 10th. So I won.
Relax. Don't worry. Take it easy. Let your hair grow for a change. Take it easy, guys. Take it easy.
That van's gonna blast us with this horn in it. Oh, I knew it! I knew it! Activists in Britain usually have a bad reputation of being unemployed, of being dirty, of not being part of normal civilized middle-class society. And I think what we as activists need to do is change that. We need to make activism fun, and we need to engage with the target audience, and we actually need to come across as civilized and educated people. And I think that's what activism is missing, I think, in the world right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, we need to ask ourselves whether the actions of the EDL actually lower fear and make this world a more peaceful, understanding, compassionate place. I think we all know that when a bunch of men and women turn up and they're all very angry, it doesn't actually help society. If you guys want to defend England, perhaps we should concentrate on positive things and actually compassion and understanding.
Oh, we've done that.
Well, the thing is though, like, please don't threaten us, man. Please don't threaten us. Ladies and gentlemen, a quick lesson in psychology. People who have a lot of pain and anger and hurt inside them want to attack other people because it's easier than attacking themselves. One thing angry men don't like to do is look in the mirror and figure out why they're angry. So they create scapegoats. They create the enemy, the other. And then they let out all their rage. Uh-oh.
Film star.
We like you smiling. That's what we want.
I'm always smiling.
Would you give me a hug for the interests of peace and love?
No problem.
Come here, man, it's all good.
You see, that's what we need more of. Understanding.
I just want to end also by mentioning anarchy and why I am a political anarchist. There's two levels to it. I think we do, in a way, live in an anarchist world because no one is really in charge. If a country becomes tyrannical, we'll see a revolution. The poor people will overthrow and sometimes kill the rich and the powerful. And it flips over. It's the revolution. And so I think, truly, every single person has as much power as everyone else. And that's pure anarchy. There's no hierarchy, really, when you think about it. But I'm also a philosophical anarchist because I want to see a world in the future, once we evolve, that we don't need politicians, we don't need these institutions. We just need small city-states or small voluntary organizations of people who police themselves. We need to see a return to community spirit, which is gone now in the Western world, unfortunately. And why is it? I don't know. Where is the community spirit? So we need to see it come back. So I say 2011 is the year of the people's uprising. We see it in Greece, we see it in Portugal, we've seen it obviously in Bahrain, Libya, Tunisia, and we're going to see it in Ireland, we're going to see it in Britain now. And the student protests are just the beginning. And if the governments don't start fearing the people, they will be overthrown, unfortunately. No one wants to see violence, but nobody wants to live like a slave either. So it's a dialogue between the people and the state. And if the state stops listening, then it'll attack.